Before I start this video, I want to say a great big thank you to everyone who's liked my videos, subscribed and gave any sort of feedback. It's really appreciated this so early on in the uploads to YouTube. So yeah, massive thank you, and I'm just going to get on before I start blabbering on and boring you to death. This first game I played was a bishop's opening. It was midstream. My goal was to reach or surpass 1700 on chess.com. I've never passed this stage, so I was pretty excited, and I played 4 games. I'm going to show you 4 games as opposed to 3 because they are pretty short. I mean, the first one's reasonable. The second, third, and fourth, they're pretty short. So I decided to show you 4 tonight. So it starts with the bishop's opening: e4, e5, bishop to c4, and I play knight to f6. Sorry, I'm unfamiliar with the bishop's opening. It's one I should get familiar with because I'm starting to see it more and more. So that's an idea for maybe a future opening video. So after knight to f6, he plays d4, and I immediately made a mistake fighting for the centre with d5, and it's a mistake because if well, what he should have played here was just the simple d takes on e5, threatening the knight. I'm sort of forced here to retake the bishop, and here he would play queen takes queen. After retaking the queen, he just now picked the knight up, and we're playing chess in a not very nice position, I'm going to say, for black here. So yes, but fortunately he doesn't do this. What he does is e takes on d5. Fortunately, again, I'm going to add knight takes on d5, queen to f3, lining up the pressure here. So I immediately defend the knight. I don't want to move the knight and get mated so early on. So Stockfish here says this is a great move, so I decided, hey ho, give it a great move tag. Here he starts adding more pressure onto d5. I'll just give it another supporter. And now he takes d takes e5. So here I just go ahead. I don't know why they highlighted red. I just go ahead, develop and pin the knight at the same time. The idea is to try and relieve some pressure on d5 for now, developing at the same time. He blocks the pin. I go ahead and play b5, which is a slight error. Stockfish wants me to castle here just before I start making the position a little bit crazy, asking it to open, just get the king to safety. This is a good general rule of thumb before you start thrashing pieces around the board. Get your king to safety. Well, I didn't follow this principle and got away with it yet again in this game. I played b5, the bishop pulled back, and I took the knight on c3, relieving the pressure on d5 again. After retakes, I now make another slight mistake with queen to g5. What I should have played here was c5, getting ready to trap this bishop, because let's say he makes a silly mistake. Just now the bishop's trapped. So he would have to play a3, giving the bishop a breathing square for in case this happens. So I make this slight error. He plays bishop to d2, allowing me to take this pawn with check, which is great. This is the best move for white. Stockfish gave him a great move tag, so I've decided to go ahead and give him one myself. It does hang this pawn on b2. I go ahead and take it. He castles, and I just come back. Just literally, the idea was just to keep pressure in the centre. It was my first game, you know. It's I call my first game warm-up game, hey ho. He immediately plays rook to e1, giving the queen and king a good x-ray. So I decide here to go ahead castle. Again, Stockfish loves me. I play a great move. So now he goes on the offensive. I discovered attack to the queen. I move out of the way to d6, and he immediately took on d5. What would have been better was preparing this with queen to g3. Now, the reason why Stockfish, or a higher level would prefer this, let's say, was because now, say if I play a lazy move like h6, the knight can take now with a discovered attack to my queen. This queen's not defended, so I need to do something, and I've just lost a piece. So the best move here is queen takes, and before he retakes the queen, sorry, he'd play knight to e7 check, moving his knight out of a attack. So I have to react to the check, king to h8, and only now he would take the queen, and now he's up material. I'm in a bad place. It's probably lost here for black, but fortunately he didn't spot this and immediately played knight takes on d5. Well, I start jumping on everything now. Bishop takes d5, bishop takes d5, queen takes d5. I didn't really want this to happen, but it was sort of forced. I offered to trade queens. I was really hoping he didn't take my queen, because if he did, let's just play it, I've got a target for the end game, which is fast approaching. I don't want this. In the end game, you want connected pawns. But anyway, he doesn't trade queens. He plays queen to c3. So I'm thankful of this. Now I'll play c5, rook to d3, getting ready for another discovered attack. I just move out the way, so there's no more complications. Bishop to e3, just adding pressure onto the c5 pawn. So go ahead, throw away another defender with knight to b6. Queen to e5. I try and gain a tempo here with rook to e8. Stockfish doesn't mind this. And after queen to g3, I now start adding pressure onto his weak c pawn myself. So he asked me to react, and I reacted the wrong way. I wanted to keep a hold of this pawn, hence why I played queen to c8. What I should have played was queen to e4, doubling up here. So this bishop's pretty restricted. It defends this pawn, because if he does take the pawn, I just win the rook with mate. So I indirectly protect the pawn here, and add even more pressure to this. So this pawn's now, unless he starts attacking the knight, it's pretty impossible to defend. So he has to move the pawn, and after he moved the pawn, I'd probably play knight to c. Let's just play it, make it more simple. There we go. Putting pressure on both of these pieces here, asking him to play on. So what I played was the queen to c8, and after rook to d1, I now take the weak c2 pawn. He starts trying to set up a mate here, so I defend. He now plays queen to c3, and the only move here really I have is knight to d4, and this is the only move really Stockfish likes. And here I was quite worried at rook takes. Now Stockfish again really likes rook takes on d4, because after c takes d4, queen takes d4, he's threatening mate yet again, and I have to give a pawn back to defend this. And in the review, I chose queen to c7 to defend mate. What I found out was pretty cool. Queen to d7, hanging a queen. It actually comes with, well, let's say he fell for it, I just play mate myself. So it obviously defends mate and sets up a little trap, but this didn't happen in the game. What he played, for some reason I don't know, more than likely a misclick, or he just decided to add more pressure to the c5 pawn. But anyway, I jumped straight on this with knight to e2, forking the king and queen, and here he resigned. So my warm-up game was a win, and I move on to game 2, which was, now I'm feeling pretty pumped. I'm warmed up, I've played a game, I've won it, I'm feeling unbeatable, which turns out, you know, I will upload videos in the future when I do lose, don't worry. You'll be learning from my mistakes too. So I start with e4, being a Scotch player, go straight for a Scandinavian. And I take on d5, a book move here, knight to f6, and I don't normally play c4 here. It is a book move, and I used to play the English quite a lot, so I thought let's try and add some element of the English here. Let's just give it a whirl. First time I played c4 here, and it turned out pretty well. He made an immediate mistake with bishop to g4. I just blocked my bishop, he retreated, and again, being used to be an English player, I'd just throw a little bit of an element here, developing the knight to c3, and after a6, Stockfish did like, instead of d3, playing d4, just taking control of these two e5 and c5 squares. I just wanted to support these pawns here. That's what I played. So after e6, which is what he should have played, instead of bishop to g4, I just go ahead, pin this knight, and he made a very early blunder of bishop to b4. I jumped on this straight away. You know, at this sort of level, you need to be able to progress, you need to spot these sort of mistakes. Because they happen quite a lot still at the 1700 mark. This guy's 1620, of course, but still 16, 17, even 1800s make these mistakes still. So anyway, I give him a check. He blocks with the knight. Don't understand why. Maybe he's just gave up. So after D takes the knight, and I don't know why. It works in my favour. If you're down material, try and avoid trading off material, because you don't want to simplify the position if you're down material. This guy doesn't understand this one. So I'm smiling my face off midstream here in Twitch, and he plays b5. I just take the pawn. A takes b5, queen takes b5, and he castles here. I just play knight to f3, trying to complete the development. Rook to b8, just kicking the queen away, and here I took my foot off the pedal here. Really, I should have played queen to c4, just keeping the defence in this weak d3 pawn. What I played was bishop to c5, and to be fair, I said it midstream. He's got a white square bishop. Let's just put my queen on a dark square. It's a silly one. I didn't have to do this, but anyway, he wins the pawn. I offer a trade of queens, trying to simplify the position. He turns it down. I castle. I was midstream here debating whether to castle or not. I didn't like the fact that he had a open G file. He immediately jumped on it, and so I decided, okay, move the queen out of the way, and here he resigned. So yeah, I was happy at this. The queen, he's not got that many places to go. I'd have probably just tried to force a queen trade here, even at the cost of another pawn, especially this weak backward c3 pawn. Should he have played something like this? It doesn't really force queen trade, but you get what I'm trying to say. But anyway, I won this game, and game number 3. Now I'm feeling like, I'm spotting the mistakes now. I'm warmed up, pretty pumped. I'm in the I've reached my goal. I've surpassed 1700 here. I'm feeling great. So it starts off the Scotch, my favourite opening. I do actually cock up a little bit later on here. I don't feel like I should be cocking this Scotch up really, because I play it all the time. I should know it off by heart for the first well past the opening. I've played it so many times. But anyway, it was probably a mistake for a higher level to spot. So anyway, we go through the Scotch position here. This is pretty bad here. Black wants to be playing bishop to c5. Let's just play bishop to c5, queen to, and then after I take the knight again, then queen to f6. This is the just the classical Scotch. It's pretty solid for black here. It's solid for white. It's fairly equal. That's how black wants to be going on. I just want to leave a quick note here. Let's say you do go ahead, start pressuring this knight. Don't go ahead and make a silly mistake here like knight to f6, because white here has a nasty attack on the queen, forcing you to take with this pawn or this pawn. Let's just take with this one. White here would take the queen straight away, forcing the king to take, and only now take the bishop, and white still has castling rights. If you don't take the queen as white here, black will do it to you. So if you go ahead, grab the bishop first, black will rinse your queen, and now you're the one without castling rights. Yeah, you still got an advantage. Still got the advantage here as white, but black's still got castling rights. So all he's got to do is find a way to move his bishop, probably something like this. Why complicate the position when you're winning, is all I'm saying. But anyway, none of this happened, so I don't know why I'm getting into this. He takes the centre. This is better for white, considered better for white. I just develop, trying to improve the position, getting ready to start the attack. Here, I will, if I can, castle queenside in the Scotch as white, because I like to smash this H pawn straight up to black's king. And which is what I do. After he plays a6, I go ahead, play h4. He plays b5, and this is a mistake. What I should have played here was e5, and you'll see why in a moment. So I'll go ahead, play h5, and he played h6, and this is why I should have played e5. Again, I don't like trading queens, which is why I didn't play e5, but this is the reason why I should have played e5, sorry, because here he can play the c5, attacking the queen, and after I retreat, he now attacks my knight, and I have to do something about it. And the best response here for white, according to Stockfish, is now playing e5. It's the only way to get a playable position. So after, what is it here? Sorry, let me just go. So after black takes on c3, you'd be forced to take on f6. You'd now take on b2 with check. You've got to react to this. And after the bishop takes on f6, you're in a bit of a pickle. You're down 2 pawns, and what I should have done was play. I'll show you what I should have played before this h5 move. This avoids all of this nonsense, because black here should take, and after these trades, white's fully developed with a tempo on the rook sat in the corner with a decent advantage for white. This is why I should have played e5 in the Scotch. I'm sorry if this is a little bit complicated, but yes. But anyway, this is an eye level mistake here. You know, an eye level is going to spot this sort of stuff. I should have spotted it. I'm a Scotch player. I play it all the time. So anyway, this is what happens in the game. I just immediately start throwing the g pawn into the attack. He takes with the bishop on g4. I retake, and he makes a blunder here because he allows rook to g1, the open g file, to the king. And now in the Scotch, I always go for the open g file. It's such a monster when you got a rook lined upon it. And he makes the immediate mistake, or blunder should I say. Knight takes on e3 because the queen just goes ahead, takes on g7 with mate. It is tricky here because this knight is sort of pinned. He can't move the knight. He can only defend it really, but he just loses it anyway. Whatever black plays here, that knight's gone, because if he moves the knight, I suppose he can block here, and that's it. He's losing the knight. One way or another, that knight's gone. He's got to lose the knight to avoid mates, basically. And he just didn't think, traded off and lost the game. So if I blabbered on in that one. So the final game, here I'm pumped. Thinking I'm well into the 1700 now. I can afford a loss. Let's play one more before I start creating YouTube content. So this game was fairly short. It starts with the Queen's Gambit, and now I immediately go e5, hoping for a Albin Counter Gambit. Normally what you see here is D takes on e5. Now I'd go into this. It goes on for a while. I do have a Albin Counter Gambit video if you are interested to go and look at. It is pretty poor. I should go ahead and remake that video, so maybe that's another idea for the near future, but it does give you a basic decent understanding of the Albin Counter Gambit. But what he takes here, what he does here is takes on d5. I do go over this variation again in the video, and it's better for black here. Black just takes on d5. He knight to f3, just solidifying the centre. Play knight to c6, getting ready to castle queenside. That is the idea in the Albin. But even though, you know, yeah. Anyway, carry on. So he plays knight to c3, trying to kick the queen away. I develop and pin the knight immediately, just giving me a little bit more time before I have to react and develop it at the same time. He plays e3, solidifying the centre. I just go ahead, start opening the centre. He takes back with the knight. I take the knight on d4. He takes with the queen, and Stockfish here says I should have not played this. I should have played queen takes, because after pawn takes, he's got two isolated pawns, and again we are nearing a endgame. It's not far away at all. He's got a very weak d4 pawn, which would be a target for me later on. So I'm going to be quite easily a pawn up in the endgame, but instead I take the bishop on c3. Again, I just don't like trading queens. He retakes with a pawn. I defend the queen, develop it at the same time. Bishop to a3. Now this is the beginning of a blunder for him. I just develop again, adding more defenders to the queen. Now this is the blunder. c4. And I immediately jump on it with queen to a5. Winning the bishop. This bishop, should he block, I just take, and he just blocks with the queen here. I just go ahead and take the bishop on a3. So I'm glad I didn't trade queens, and this is the reason why I don't like trading queens, because again at this level people make mistakes, and the mistakes are a lot easier to jump on, I guess, if the queens are on the board. So if I do progress much further, maybe I need to start and accept that I need to trade the queens every now and again. But anyway, game went on a few more moves. He played bishop to e2, trying to get ready to castle. I immediately try and stop this with rook to d8. I can't castle queenside because I'd be crossing check. So I sort of have to accept that I'm moving the rook to d8 as opposed to castling the rook to d8. So he moves the queen out of the way, and I play a check here. He can't block it unless he wants to lose a major piece. So he has to accept he can't castle. With this is great. This is what I wanted. This is what I'm achieving. The reason I castled here was just to rub salt in the wound. I really did. I just wanted to rub salt in the wound. That's why I played it. Midstream, I think I started laughing here. Just, you know, it's how I play. I'm such a dick. But anyway, he plays g3, probably trying to get the king here, bring the rook in, and I immediately shut the door on that idea with bishop to h3. Again, I'm just an awkward person. I like to play awkward. If I get an advantage, I will play as awkwardly as I can. And here, rook to d2. The king is no longer on f1, defending this bishop. So now is a great time to win a queen or a bishop. And for some reason he plays queen to f5. Maybe he just gave up, and I go ahead and actually make the mistake of taking on f5 with the bishop. It's not bad, I'm not losing. It's just better to take with the queen. Because here is, what does he do? If the rook comes to, let's just play it, f1, trying to defend mate, I'll just take the bishop. And threatening queen f3 and queen to g2 mate. If he decides, I don't know, f5, f4, just win the bishop. If he decides, what else do you want to play? If he tries to save the bishop and plays bishop to d1, I just play mate. So that's it. Black's won here. But anyway, oops, sorry. I'll take with the bishop. Slight mistake, but he resigns. So no, that's it. So yeah, there are my 4 games. Hopefully I wasn't too boring. Hopefully I've not blabbled on too much. Again, all your feedback is greatly appreciated. I am still very new to this, so if there's a way you believe I can improve this, make better content for you to watch, make it less boring or something, maybe I'm going through moves too fast, too slow, maybe I'm not going into certain moves deep enough, whatever the feedback, bring it on. I'll take it on the chin. I'll only appreciate it, and yeah, crack on. Oh, any subscribes, any likes, again, massively appreciated this early on. So I'll leave it there, and thank you again. I'll see you in the next one.